This is Spain's Coto Donana, the jewel of all Europe's national parks. Most famous for the magical light of its marshy lagoons and the beauty of its flamingos. The land that they fly over varies greatly. From the cork oak woodlands of the north to the pine forests in the south, a vast dune barrier protects the marshes from the Atlantic. The Coto is a delicately balanced oasis on the fringes of fast-developing Spain. It gives a unique and vital refuge to her rarest animals. Here, in Donana's forest, prowls Europe's most endangered predator. Having a family tree that boasts the most cunning, dangerous, and handsome mammals on this planet may not be enough to save this animal from disappearing forever. This Spanish lynx has to use every ounce of cunning and skill if she is to survive. The partridge was too quick for her. An Atlantic storm sweeps in from the coast. Exceptionally heavy rains have lashed the Coto all winter, inundating areas that have been dry for 50 years. The floods drowned or displaced whole populations of rabbits and deer, making life difficult for predators like this lynx. To survive, she must switch from her normal rabbit prey to geese and partridge. After 5 years of drought, the Coto is set to recover, and the grey lag geese and other wildfowl are returning. In lulls between the rain, the beauty of Donana's misty mornings also returns. She dries herself using her rasp-like tongue. Like most cats, she doesn't like to get wet. But rain or shine, she must find a meal. She reaches up to hone her claws on a favorite marking tree. Dropping down, she suddenly locks on to a movement. Her spectacular leap has paid off. The partridge will satisfy her hunger for today, and she takes her kill into the cover of the bushes to feed. Plucking the bird is not an exact science, but effective enough. After she has finished feeding, only the feet and feathers will remain. A young lynx is struggling to free itself, but these are the rubber jaws of a biologist's trap. Now it must be tranquilized. His services are needed to provide essential information required in the battle to save his species from extinction. His vital statistics are recorded. Just over a year old, he weighs about 6 kilos. From now on, he will wear a small radio collar to track his movements and help Dr. Paco Palomares answer questions about the basic needs of a lynx. He is armed with formidable equipment to dispatch his prey. They have called him Hollywood, and he will be released to join his mother and sister. During the next 2 years, Eloy, Paco and his team will be able to plot his long and dangerous exploits in search of his own territory. A radio-collared female has her litter of young kittens in this tree. Knowing that she's away hunting for her young family, Paco is able to carefully remove and examine the kits. This is a rare and precious moment for the biologists. They are just 3 weeks old. Their weights and measurements must be taken as quickly as possible. This little one is just 500 grams. There are 3, an average size litter, 2 male and 1 female. The team work as quickly as they can, recording all the data. They will be electronically tagged and DNA sampled for future identification. From the left, their names are Pepe, Rafa and Roja. Whatever their future holds for them will be closely followed by the team of biologists. They must be safely returned to their tree home before Mum returns from her hunt. The idyllic spring weather and luxuriant growth allows the rabbit population to recover. Foxes are seldom tolerated in lynx territory and are often killed when encountered. But even so, a prowling fox could still be a threat to the lynx kittens. The mother of the marked kits, who has been given the name Nuria, has decided to move her kits to a safer location. One of her kits has chosen a dangerous place to stop. The mother waits for it in the safety of the bushes. Eventually, it makes the right decision to join her. The dense scrub offers essential cover for them, while the open grassland between the pistachio bushes allow Donana's rabbits to recover after the devastations of myxomatosis and flooding. The spring sunshine seems to stimulate this pair, although rabbits need little encouragement. In spring, their numbers drop to only 10 per hectare, well below the limit for a female lynx with cubs. Often thought of as dusk till dawn animals, lynx also hunt during the day. Nuria synchronises her activity with the rabbits to maximise her chances. A victim is finally selected, and the pounce is swift and efficient. She needs 2 or 3 rabbits a day for herself and the kits. The rabbit dangling from her jaws is no problem for her strong neck muscles. She may have to carry it for several kilometres back to her young. As the heat seeps from Donana's setting sun, Nuria returns unseen to the cork oak where she has left the sleeping trio. From their vantage point, the kits watch their mother's arrival with eager anticipation. Soon, Rafa decides it's time to clamber down. He clings to the soft cork with his needle-sharp claws and all the determination required to prevent what could be a 3-metre fall. He is followed by a more nervous Pepe and Roja. Their meal finished, the mother leads her cubs out to scamper about in the cool evening breeze. The keen-sighted magpies search for the scraps of rabbit they have left. In the failing light, the kits are now safe enough from birds of prey to play at will. In the morning, the kits sleep safely as a Spanish imperial eagle soars on the warming air currents. It too prefers rabbits, but this year it has had to switch to hunting Donana's abundant wildfowl. As the water recedes, stranded fish and other aquatic life attract storks, herons, flamingos and egrets, which concentrate in the muddy shallows. But it's duck or coot that are most likely to fall prey to the eagle's talons. Lush grass attracts red deer stags to graze, and a striped-necked terrapin seems to intrigue these white egrets. Not even the stork's bill has the power to open up this armour-plated meal. The eagle hunting high overhead makes the storks jittery. In the confusion of the moment, the female eagle catches a young coot making for cover, and she flies off with it towards their nest. Numbering just 100 pairs, the Spanish imperial eagle is one of the rarest as well as the most beautiful eagles in the world. Her mate thermals high above the nest. Her 2 chicks are about 3 weeks old. There is less rivalry between siblings than in other eagles, and if the parents can find enough food, they should both fledge. The male is usually the one to bring in the prey, so she lunges at his feet in a typical eagle food pass. It is her turn to leave the nest in search of food, leaving the male to watch over their chicks. The immense sweep of the Coto is mapped out below, and on the park's southern shore, the annual pilgrimage to the Virgin of El Rocío has begun. San Lucas pilgrims are crossing the Guadalquivir River. Specially trained oxen strain to drag their 2-ton sacred loads through the sand. For a whole week, tens of thousands of pilgrims in festive mood pass through the heart of the park where the eagles and lynxes are breeding. They are drawn to a shrine in the village of El Rocío, where a shepherd once saw the Virgin Mary. It is a magnificent pageant, deeply enshrined in the Andalusian culture. But the people's right to cross the park has to be carefully controlled to minimize the impact on the wildlife. Once a local pilgrimage of a few hundred people, it has now become a national event in which over 1 million take part. But the fiesta is not what threatens the eagle and lynx. It's now a year since El Rocío's great pilgrimage. Coto Donana's marismas is once again overflowing after another year of exceptional rain. The month of May still threatens a shower or two, but summer's heat is not far off. And deep in the Coto, a fallow doe nervously searches for a place to give birth. It's barely a minute since this fawn dropped into the world. The doe cleans him meticulously, reclaiming her lost nutrients and removing scent that might attract predators. For the moment, there is safety amongst the herd. When he is dry, she will lead him into cover where he will remain hidden from prying eyes. For a fully grown male lynx, even adult deer present little problem. He has killed a doe as she came to drink and is intent on keeping off the magpies. For his size, he displays an impressive strength. The magpies continue to taunt him. He guards his prize from the irritating birds. The green woodpecker, though, is only interested in ants. There is nothing else to do but sit it out in the hot sun. 14 months have passed since marking Nuria's 3 kits. Her daughter Rocha has remained with her mother, whilst her brothers have become independent. It has been another very bad year for rabbits, and her mother is not pregnant. They are still hunting well after sunup, and any meal, fur or feather, would be equally welcome. A nightjar flattens onto her nest. Rocha goes in to investigate. She can't find the newly hatched chicks, and her attention gets drawn back onto the real thing. The nightjar returns to her alarmed brood, which she attracts into the shadows by calling and bobbing her head. To the east, the Coto is bounded by the Rio Guadalquivir that formed the delta in its marshes. It is now mid-June, and the first hatched of this year's brood of imperial eagle chicks waits for his meal to drop in. His parents need to work all day to keep him and his sibling fed. It is the male eagle that's made the kill. This one has replaced last year's male, who was found shot on the other side of the river. A rabbit will make a welcome change to their diet. They see the female approaching. She will help with the feeding if needed, although the eaglets can feed themselves now. The pair have had a successful year, although the Donana population of 15 pairs has been gradually declining. This year, only 6 clutches were laid, with only 5 eaglets fledged. Inbreeding may be a problem, but persecution, habitat loss, and a drastic drop in rabbit numbers are the main reasons for their decline. In a month or two, the eaglets will be independent. Feeding mainly on carrion, they will gradually move further from Donana, leaving their parents, and flying as far away as North Africa and back. To fight against myxomatosis and lung disease, 8,000 inoculated rabbits are released every year. In areas such as Coto del Rey, they recovered sufficiently to support the lynxes, but in others, disease struck again before the rabbits had a chance to build up numbers. A lynx hunts with its eyes and ears. It has a poor sense of smell and appears not to use it for hunting. During their territorial patrols, known warrens are investigated. Often it will be a rustle that alerts the predator. Once the sound is located, the eyes take over and the chase begins. The whole rabbit will be consumed, leaving only the skin and tail. One of last year's eaglets fixes on to the sight of a bounding rabbit. Temporarily returned from her wanderings in Africa, she is also keen to seize any opportunity. A Montpellier snake is disturbed by the commotion. Until the breeding season begins again, the adult eagles won't chase this youngster away. As the marshes begin to dry out in late June, it is time for the annual roundup of the mares and foals. It is an event of great cultural as well as practical significance, culminating in a big fiesta. Use of the park by livestock is carefully controlled to prevent overgrazing and disturbance. The issue is a sensitive one, since local feelings play an important part in the effectiveness of conservation in and out of the park. By the end of July, any remaining pools become magnets for insects, birds and mammals alike. These azure-winged magpies bathe in the last rays of the setting sun. After sundown, badgers emerge from their set. In Donana, their behaviour varies considerably from their British cousins. They do not make principal sets, and they have to travel far greater distances each night to forage for beetles and fruit and young rabbits instead of earthworms. Poaching with dogs, disgracefully, is the main cause of their decline in the park. The poachers have exterminated all the animals from one group. A long, cool drink is what this stag has been waiting for. Deer and wild boar are the main quarry of the poachers, but inevitably young lynx are also at risk. Ever cautious, the dominant boar tests the wind. He finds the cool mud a huge relief after a scorching hot day, and it helps rid him of insect pests. But when the male lynx Barrow arrives, the pigs decide it is time to scoop. He is the father of Nuria's cubs. A drink is on everybody's mind. For Barrow, the waterhole is an important landmark on the boundary between two male territories, so he leaves his scent mark. Nuria waits for him to leave as the hinds and young stags approach uncertainly. It's her presence that is making them nervous. She is also very alert with the male nearby. Her daughter Rocha is absorbed with rustlings in the grass. A dormouse has become Rocha's unfortunate quarry. This waterhole is also at the junction of 3 female territories, so Nuria gives it her special attention. Nuria's kits are on the verge of independence. Soon they will have to leave the safety of the park in search of their own territories. Hunting finished for tonight, the badgers groom and then squabble amicably before bedding down for the day. On a damp November morning, mists hug Coto Donana's marshes. Agriope spiderwebs remain unbroken in the cold and dewy air. Now independent, one of Nuria's 18-month-old sons, Pepe, is out hunting. It is too damp and cold for rabbits to be out yet. An immature imperial eagle is being mobbed by jackdaws. His quest for a home has already taken him to North Africa. He will remain in the area only briefly before flying north to Extremadura. Pepe pounces on a mouse. As the eagle tries to shake off his pursuers, Pepe continues to play with his mouse, as a kitten would with a ball of wool. Adult lynx have also been observed to play with their prey. Very soon he will be ready to strike out in search of his own territory. Play will take on a deeper significance then. But all will depend on his ability to find enough rabbits. It's the time of the fallow deer rut, and the bucks follow their does closely. The 18-month-old Rocha and her mother Nuria are still hunting together. Nuria will soon be in season, but despite this they seem the best of friends. Rocha's brothers, Pepe and Rafa, are now living independently, often leaving their mother's territory to hunt. A hind barks a warning and then moves closer to investigate. Finally, her nose tells her that all is not right. few days later, Pepe is seen. He has been wandering further and further away from his home area in search of rabbits. But it seems that all is not going well for him. He is thin and hungry. These wild boar piglets are too well protected by the sow. What he desperately needs to find is a rabbit, but here in the south of the park they have been hit by myxomatosis. Two weeks later, he is in a pitiful condition. Now, tragically, he is beyond help. This was the last time he was seen alive. His brother Rafa has been caught and collared. From the radio signal he emits, a complete history of his movements can be plotted. Within the last 10 years, many thousands of hectares of forest have been consumed and covered in plastic to satisfy the European demand for early strawberries. The fields bite at the little that remains, but in the trees beyond are streams and gladed pools and rabbits. But for Rafa, danger all around. It is in the forest of Moguer that Rafa has at last established a territory. Here, in the secluded fragments of forest that remain, he can live and search for a mate, following the secret tracks that link his hunting grounds and avoiding man. Back in Donana, in the south of the park, some smallholders that keep free-range poultry are experiencing problems. For an old and hungry lynx, temptation is sometimes too great. He sits on the fence, watching. And when all seems quiet, he strikes. He got away with 6 hens before effective fencing stopped him. Less scrupulous farmers would have used a gin trap. The park's vet has just received a young female lynx seriously injured by a poacher's trap. The news is particularly sad, as it turns out to be Nuria's daughter, Roja. Her right foreleg cannot be saved and must be amputated. She also has many other injuries. It is a delicate operation, and her recovery will be long and painful, since she's broken her teeth on the trap and cannot chew meat. They have managed to save her, but now Roja will be condemned to a life behind bars. Less than 1,000 Spanish lynx are alive today. Without help, her species will vanish from Spain, as her relative, the European lynx, has already done. Now extinct in Spain, the European lynx is only found in the colder climates of northern Europe. This male European lynx is in search of his mate. She descends to join him. She is in season and is intent on arousing his response. At 20 kilos, they are almost twice the weight and size of their Iberian relatives, which makes them more suited to the cold. Their longer limbs are better for pulling down larger prey and for moving in snow and mountainous terrain. She gives him a shot of her perfume, and although he does not at first appear to appreciate the gesture, it seems to create the desired effect. Their habit of preying on larger animals, such as sheep and goats, probably encouraged persecution by man and hastened their disappearance from Spain. Large shady trees are often selected for concealment during the day. Lynxes are part of the pantherine family, which includes lions, leopards and tigers. As with their much bigger relatives, sleep takes up a large proportion of the day. As winter returns to Donana's marshes, Europe's grey lag geese complete a journey of over 4,000 kilometres from Scandinavia. The recently flooded Marismas has just what they need to put on condition over winter. There is much squabbling over prime spots as rival family groups square up to one another. The senior ganders come to blows, egged on by their respective supporters. By mid-January, the geese reach a peak concentration of over 10,000 before their return journey to the breeding grounds and the home of the European lynx. As the geese leave, male partridges begin to sing for a mate. But this one's task is to decoy in rival birds. It's a type of hunting long practiced in the region. There are 500 hunters allowed to shoot in Moguer Forest, into which Rafa has now settled. On occasion, lynxes have accidentally been lured into the decoy and then shot by an unscrupulous hunter to protect his prize bird. A mature female has moved into the area close to Rafa's territory. It's a wild partridge she has heard. The habitat is right for them here, and there is sufficient prey. Rafa has caught sight of her, but is too nervous to approach until she has finished feeding. As he moves towards her, she averts her eyes, feigning indifference. His curiosity now raised, he comes still closer, while she plays hard to get. If left in peace, they may breed during the coming year. But their cubs will need corridors of forest and rivers to be protected, so that they can still link up with other isolated groups of lynx to breed. Numbers are already so low that there are fears that the population may become inbred. They have shown the capacity to live close to humans where there is prey and sufficient cover. But what is needed is far more tolerance and understanding from man if this greatest national symbol of the Spanish people is not to become just another legend.